Hi everybody, welcome to the March Supper Club. That means you've only got a couple more to go. We've got April is the last session that we'll meet for this season, and in April we're going to have a special guest. We have Doug Wysocki Johnson, who will do the video with me. So,
oh man, it's my last video.
It is your last video, and since you know Cindy's leaving, this is her last one for good, not just for the season.
Great.
And Cindy was just saying to me the other day that of all the things that she's done in 30 years, that you know, baptisms, the tender moments by the hospital bed, this has really been the thing you'll miss most, isn't it?
That is so not true. It's actually been fun.
Has it?
It has been fun. I mean,
right. You caught it on tape, didn't you? This is.
It's been kind of fun.
Yeah. No.
I'm going to be okay though. Not doing it. I'm going to survive. Okay. I will think of all of you at your supper club. So.
Yeah. So this month we're trying to wrap up the 5 habits of the heart. You remember we're working toward the healing the heart of democracy. We've been kind of going in and out of it during this season, and we have one more to go called having a personal sense of voice or agency. And we got thinking about why sometimes we don't feel like we have a voice, and something we probably both had. I think I learned this or was exposed to it first in seminary, is the idea that our culture is becoming more and more professionalized. And so, say for example 100 years ago, if the neighbor, if their father died, you'd go over as a neighbor and sit with them and comfort them, and now we're more likely to recommend a good therapist for them and say, you know, you need to talk to someone.
Right. We become consumers instead of actively sort of being different, taking on different roles for one another. Therapist is certainly an example of that. Music, you know, people used to get together in their living rooms or in their front rooms and play chamber music together, and everyone would bring their instrument. Now we buy a ticket to a lovely symphony concert. So it's a movement that has sort of happened.
In fact, church is one of the few places that we actually still sing together, right. At least most of us.
At least some of you sing. I know some of you don't sing, but yeah.
Religion itself and church is an interesting piece of this too, because we have professionalized that as well with paid staff. And we at Montview who want to push back against that, it's a tension we're always feeling. People want to give it back to us, and you know, we'll offer for someone to pray, for example. It's like, well, the professional prayers need to do this. And
even at Thanksgiving with our families. Does that happen to you? It happens to me.
No, it's never happened to me. No.
Yeah, right. So the question is, how does that sense of putting things toward professionals rather than doing them ourselves, how does that fall out as you think about healing the heart of democracy? And certainly we've done that with politics as well. So we have given over to politicians our governing and the role for governing, and we feel sort of removed from all that, and actually we know how that's going. It's maybe not going so well to have done that, but we do. We have, you know, we can't really be a part of the political process. That's for people who really know how to do it. It's a big system. We're powerless in this. So the movement, I think, that Palmer talks about is something easily it would, or simply we could say it's a movement from, you know, you politicians, you therapists, you church leaders, you whoever, you teachers, to us, that we are a part of this, and there is a place for our own personal voice and agency in all of this.
And church can be a real place of empowerment for this, even in the political system. If we can come together as a church community and find the values, the faith values that we hold together of importance, and say, how do we, as one collective voice, speak to the larger world?
And speak to is really important, because that protects the prophetic sense. It's not that we are going to speak the truth and only the truth, but it is a part of who we are to be able, as individuals and as a community, to speak to things that matter in the world.
We're up against a kind of a challenging and interesting time that some of the work I've been doing with this violence forum that we've had, it raised a number of issues, and we're going to meet on March 17th, invite people to come talk more about what might we do. Well, a question in my mind is, what percentage do I have a sense of this is where we are as a community? If 75% say we want to work on mental health, is that enough? Or, you know, do we have to have unanimity?
It is tricky, but pretty important movement. Together Colorado, which is an organization that has their office here at Montview, works with congregations, as some people would call them a community organizing group, but beyond that and more deeply than that, what they try to do is to help people who really don't have a voice, especially populations that don't feel very empowered in the political system. How do they find their voice? How do they use their voice in a way that is respectful and actually works, efficient, and actually
in our own group here at the church, Montview Community Organizing Ministry, MCOM, works with Together Colorado to listen to our community to find the issues that are important to us. So they've worked with healthcare, for example, quite a bit in the last few years.
So often our culture just feels, and more so lately, divided and angry about issues. Certainly gun control is one of the things now. And the temptation for us as individuals, and maybe even as communities, is that some of us in that situation, in a conflictual situation, tend to get quieter and just withdraw, and others of us, our voices just get bigger and we start saying the same thing over and over again or raising our voices. So the question is, how do we do this? How do we speak to the political system, do it respectfully, do it in a helpful way, and especially how do we make room for other voices than our own, which is sort of the guts of what we're talking about today.
And can you trust that? Can you trust that our faith says, that all the voices coming together is better.
Is good.
We're going to have a better product out of this. Right. I had an interesting experience of this in seminary for the first time when I had really never been exposed to this before, and someone mentioned, the professor I'm sure mentioned the women's Bible commentary, and I honestly had this thought of, well, why do we need I have my Bible commentary. Why do I need a women's Bible commentary? And it was fascinating.
It's just part of your education.
It was. It really.
Part of your education.
And to read these articles, to take a text, but from a different perspective, to put they've got very different insights into what the text means and what the power is in it, and it was better.
A different voice. I mean, one of the things that the women's movement and liberation theology movements have done is to remind us that as convicted as we are about our own particular voice, there really are other viewpoints. There's other places to stand and view the same event, and that we do need to figure out how to listen to that to each other.
We really are, if we'll trust that. So yeah, the question is, how do we claim our own voice if we're feeling like we don't have voice? And I think for a lot of us is also about how do we make room for other voices. Those things really go together for us. So
in terms of your questions and talking with each other, perhaps think about a time when you actually used your agency, your personal voice, that you spoke out, you wrote something, and actually were able to see the power of your own voice. Maybe just share around the table a time when that worked for you. Or the opposite, think of a time when you really felt compelled to speak, but you didn't, and talk about what was in the way, what made it difficult to do that.
Mm-hmm. And then even in your life right now, where are the places that you feel like you have a voice, like you feel like you have power to be heard, and where are the places that maybe you don't?
Right.
I mean, there's a challenge, there's resistance to that. So.
Okay, I really will miss you all on this little video. It's sort of, maybe I'll come back for a visit next year.
We could do a cameo.
We could do a cameo and I'll come back next year.
I love it.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Have a great supper club.
Bye.